it essentially works, or how you go about basically playing. So for starters, this is essentially what a video game would look like, where it's just a very extreme example. You're going to notice the box here. Inside of here is a disc, which you go ahead and put into a console or computer, and it will go ahead and start up the game for you. The video game is basically defined something thanks to Silence Daily. They basically define video game and computer game to two slightly different things in that computer game, blind computer, video game, typically use a TV or a handheld for. So one other thing I wanted to point out on here is the small little E here in the lower left corner, and that's its ESRB rating. The Entertainment Software Ratings Board has official ratings for every single video game that you see, or ever hope to see, in GameStop or whatever store you go to, and the ratings are as follows. Early childhood, E for everyone, E10 and up, teen, mature, adults only, and rating pending, which is just a fancy word for you don't have an official rating for it yet, but we're working on it. So the ratings is one way to go ahead and categorize them, but like movies, there are actually different genres for video games, and from what I've looked up, there are different people categorize them in different ways. So there's many different genres, but here's what a few have I found. Action is definitely a big one because many video games throughout contain action of some sort. Sort of subset of that is violence, which is definitely a part of some video games. Another one is shooter, which by its definition has some sort of shooting mechanism or guns. Another sub-branch of shooter is called FPS, which is another word for first-person shooter, in which it's a shooter game, but it's from a first-person point of view. Another big genre, if you want to call it that, is RPG, and all that stands for is role-playing game. And that's when you have essentially the character in a video game that you develop and walk through their story, or however the game wants you to go ahead and look at it. Another one is racing, in which you're, in an oversimplistic method, is you're driving a car and you're racing around a track against other cars. Nothing much more to it than that. There's even sports games, from soccer to football to a few others. And there's MMOs, which basically stands for Massive Multiplayer Online. And by its definition, it is massive. These games in particular require a constant internet connection because what happens is you're basically connecting to servers that are made by the company who made the game, and you connect to that server in order to quite literally play online. And the massive multiplayer arc is because there's usually hundreds or thousands of players playing at the same time as you, whether on the same server or a whole different server. There are a few other genres as well, such as platformers, or simply which you just jump. Any game that requires you to run or jump, or there's puzzle games, strategy, which requires you to basically think and strategize, into what's called strategy. And a few other genres that are well known, or not as well known as well. So lastly, I want to go ahead and talk about how does it work really? How do you go about playing one? I've narrowed it down to 3 different things that you typically need in order to play a video game. The first is have a screen of some sort, whether it's your TV, computer screen, or if you have a handheld that actually has all 3 aspects right there. The purpose of the screen is so that way you can see whatever you're doing, because you can still have it on, the console or device on, but you won't be able to see what you're doing, and that'll be a problem. The second aspect, which is also important, is the console or device or platform. They all mean the same thing. From a PlayStation or Xbox to even a computer could technically be classified as a platform. And platforms in particular are the game's different designs. So, for example, the Kingdom Hearts here is PS3, as you can see right there. That's just one of the consoles it's made for. The last thing is also important, is the way to interact with the video game. The controller, or if you have a handheld, acts as your input device. Whatever buttons you click will go ahead and send a signal from the controller or device to your console or platform, and they will already programmed it such that, oh, okay, they hit this button, that means they want to do this thing. And there you have it. That's basically how video games work, how they're rated, what kinds of genres there are, and how they go about basically playing one, how they work.